A lot of you have been requesting an update video for my Starfire Warlock build with the launch of Lightfall and the revamped mod system, so today, that's what we're going to be talking about. The footage you'll be watching is underleveled content, specifically Node Override Avalon, which is on Legend at 1830, and Master Law sectors, which are 1840. With that being said, let's first get started with the basics for first-time viewers or new people to this build. I dubbed this build as Unstoppable because essentially that's what it is. Zero fear, zero risk, absolute and utter destruction of everything. It ignites everything, and ignitions blow up unstoppable champions, so I just found that kind of funny. So it's called Unstoppable. At the top, your first choice is your super. Of course, you have to go with Well of Radiance. You technically could use Dawnblade if you really want to, but Well of Radiance is just so many levels of unfair, it's not even comparable. Next, you have your Rift. While you're welcome to use any of them that you'd like, the best one by far is Empowering Rift. First, Empowering gives you bonus damage for your weapons. Second, Empowering is needed to make your exotic armor work, which in this case is Starfire Protocol. When Empowering Rift is active, any and all damage you do to anything will charge your fusion grenades at a very fast rate. It doesn't matter how much damage you do, it just matters that you keep doing sustained damage. Because of this function, your best choices for this are either going to be weapons with tick damage, such as Witherhoard and Anarchy, or just rapid fire weapons such as SMGs, autos, machine guns, etc. Because every bullet is energy back. The more bullets you fire, and the faster you fire them, the better. Final note on the Rift, every time you just activate your Rift, you get grenade energy back as well, so pop that as much as possible. Next is your melee. Now again, you could go with either one, however my personal choice is Celestial Fire. This melee will give you Scorch, and in combination with just one grenade, will ignite an enemy. Additionally, Celestial Fire has a significant advantage over Incinerator Snap in the range department. For the grenade slot, you're of course going to be using fusion grenades. Nothing else to say here, really. It's just, well, they're just straight up pocket nukes. That's what I'll say. Let's move on from that. For aspects, your only mandatory choice is going to be Touch of Flame. Touch of Flame allows your fusion grenades to explode twice, which allows for more damage and more ignitions. Your other slot can be anything, but my personal choice is just Icarus Dash to zoom around maps faster, but you could go with Heat Rising if you'd like. Fragments, these are up for debate, but much like anything else, I have my personal preference in this, and I found that this has great consistency with the following setup, so here we go. Ember of Eruption, this allows your ignitions to have a bigger area of effect, essentially think bigger boom. Ember of Searing, this allows you to gain your melee charge back very fast when defeating scorched targets, which will happen all the time. The faster you get your melee back, the faster you can have Radiance up for more damage, and speaking of Radiance, Ember of Torches. Landing your powered melee attack will make you and your allies radiant and give you an extra damage buff for your weapons. I don't think I need to explain that any further. And finally, we have Ember of Ashes. This allows you to put more Scorch attacks on targets, which essentially means you can get to your ignition trigger faster on enemies, which in turn blows them up, which in turn just nukes the room faster or kills the boss, whatever you may be killing. Let's move on to gear. Now, I know most of you know the exotic armor for this build, but for those of you that may be new to Lightfall and don't know, let's just take a look for a second. So Starfire Protocol is the exotic you need for this build. For those of you that are unaware, this exotic allows you to carry 2 charges for your fusion grenades, and that previously mentioned Empowering Rift, charging your grenades, yeah, this is the thing that's doing it. Additionally, when having this on, when you get even one single fusion grenade kill, you would instantly get your Empowering Rift back, so to say this exotic is a must-have for this build is an understatement. Now, let's go over the weapons as a quick mention real quick. Now, as I mentioned earlier, tick damage and rapid fire weapons are the best for this. My personal choice recommendations are Witherhoard and Fixed Odds. Now, Witherhoard is a popular meta weapon and it has been for years, so I won't go too much in detail on it, other than it's great for tick damage. Also, if you don't know, you can get it from the kiosk through an exotic cipher, so it's not that hard to get, although the Catalyst, you might struggle a little bit. And then Fixed Odds. Now, Fixed Odds, on the other hand, is criminally slept on as a weapon, and it is absolutely perfect for this build. Fixed Odds is not only a rapid fire weapon, because it's a machine gun that's great for this build, but it's also a weapon that can roll incandescent and hits for good damage. In simple terms, it, much like your entire build, can start scorching enemies, then igniting them, then blowing up entire rooms of enemies, and while it's doing all of this, it'll be charging your grenades back that much faster. If you haven't farmed out a Fixed Odds already, the next time the Duality Dungeon is back on the Rotator, absolutely go farm for it at the normal Kaitel encounter checkpoint. Finally, let's talk about mods. Pre-Lightfall, a lot of this was tied up in Charge with Light and Phantomite mods to maximize damage. Now things are a little bit different. Let's start with the Helmet mod and one of the MVP mods. Ashes to Acids is arguably the most busted mod in the entire game for Warlocks. Simply throwing your grenade and racking up kills will get you gigantic chunks of super at an extremely fast rate. During the background footage of this video, keep note of how much super energy I get anytime I get multi-kills. It's downright silly. Next up is Gloves. For this slot, the unanimous winner for me is Firepower. For those of you that are unaware, the Firepower mod now states that every time you get a grenade kill, you make an Orb of Power. That's right, now your pocket nukes make Orbs of Power, as if you needed another method to get your Well of Radiance even faster. Additionally, you can also slot things like Momentum Transfer and Impact Induction to reduce grenade and melee cooldowns. For your chest, the choices here are largely the same, 2 slots for resistance mods to incoming damage, and then a 4th slot to mess around with. My personal choice here is Charged Up, increasing your carry stacks for armor charges by 1. Armor charges are basically your new rebranded Chargers Light, except with a decay timer. Now speaking of which, let's talk about your boots. This is where your armor charges will be fed into. Your boots are the item you choose for what kind of element damage you want, aka weapon surges. Whichever weapons you intend to run, you will need to match these weapon surges to them. For example, if I'm running fixed odds and I want to buff its damage, I will run Solar Surges. If I want to buff Witherhoard's damage, I will run Kinetic Surge, or you can do a mix of both if you'd like. Just note that the more weapon surges you run for a particular element, the more damage that element will do. In other words, 3 Solar Surges are stronger than 2 Solar Surges. Finally, your class item. My personal go-to in this slot is running 2 copies of Bomber, which reduces your grenade cooldown when you use your Rift. Again, this interaction will be happening all the time, so it's a no-brainer mod to run, in my opinion. In the last slot, I opt to run Time Dilation to extend the timer on my armor charges, allowing them to stay on longer before decaying, which in turn will give you a longer time with your weapon surges. And there you have it, my updated Starfire Warlock build post-Lightfall. I think this build is truly unstoppable currently in-game to the point of power creep, but that's a whole separate discussion for later. In the meantime, enjoy the build. I will leave a dim link for this build in the description below, and while you're there, like, a sub would be appreciated, it does help the channel, and if you're feeling real spicy, you could hit that notification bell and follow my socials for more updates as well. That's all from me. Catch you in the next one.